Welcome to this SCORE webinar provided through SCORE Mentors Green Bay. So, welcome to the SCORE webinar. My name is Laure Haak. I am both a SCORE mentor and a small business owner. I will be your host today, and I just wanted to talk through our goals today, which are to explain a range of employee ownership options for small businesses, to highlight small businesses that are employee-owned. We have three really wonderful local businesses here on the call with us. I also want to take this opportunity to introduce you to the SCORE Mentors program, both for people who are interested in getting small business assistance, but also for people who are interested in serving as mentors. And as well, one of the reasons we are recording this event is that we want to be using the recording to create resources that can be used by small businesses and SCORE mentors to inform discussions about employee ownership. So lots of stuff going on here. So as I mentioned, this webinar is part of an ownership design series being put on by SCORE Green Bay. It is the second in the series. We've just finished up one on ownership design, which VandeHei joined us with, so we'll meet Anne in a minute. In a couple weeks, we have one on cooperative ownership. And in October, we have another webinar on DAO hybrid ownership. And if you don't know what it is, don't worry. A lot of people don't. Just so you know how this is going, if you are interested in the series, please follow us at SCORE Mentors Green Bay. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, so you can follow us in any one or all three of those to get updates on the series, to get registration links, and also to be informed when the webinar video and audio become available after each of the events. I did want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, first and foremost, SCORE Green Bay. I see that Ann Hartnell is on the call. Thank you for supporting me and putting this webinar series on. Also to Mighty Red Barn for helping to sponsor the post-production of the video and audio along with SCORE Green Bay, as well as the support from the Small Business Administration for SCORE in general. Again, you can follow us at SCORE Mentors Green Bay, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Okay, so who is SCORE? What is SCORE? SCORE was formed in the 1960s as a resource partner of the SBA. And our mission is to foster a vibrant small business community through mentoring and education. So we provide all sorts of things, first and foremost, free one-on-one mentoring through email, through video, and sometimes in person for small businesses that are in any phase of their life cycle, whether they're starting up, in the middle, or going through a transition like we're talking about today to employee ownership. We do offer also live services like this meeting we have here, webinars, also face-to-face face-to-face meetings as well. And there's a vast online repository of articles and checklists and templates and outlines available for free. So SCORE so this is what we do for small businesses. Thanks to our thousands of volunteers nationwide, we have helped several thousand businesses get started every year. And those businesses create several hundreds of thousands of new jobs. And also we help clients in communities all across the United States. We like to say that we help people achieve their goals and live their dreams. So how SCORE can help your business. The biggest statement here is in bold. You don't have to go it alone. Right? We provide free advice over the life cycle of your business, and some data that we have from the SBA says that small business clients who get more than 3 hours of mentoring report higher revenues and increased business growth. So come on over, ask us for help. If you're interested, all you have to do is go to www.score.org and click on the Find a Mentor button on the page, and you can get partnered up with one of us SCORE mentors, either through a skills match or a location match. We also have many opportunities for volunteers to join us as mentors. So if you're passionate about entrepreneurship, if you're inspired by our mission to foster small business communities, join us. We'd love to have you. You can go to www.score.org, and there's another button on there that says join our team. You can volunteer. You can decide how many hours a month that you would like to volunteer. You can volunteer locally, or many of us, we volunteer and take clients from both our local chapter as well as nationally based on our skills and experience. It's a lot of fun. I encourage you to check it out. All right, so no further ado, I'd like to turn us over to the point of this today, which is ownership design, right? And understanding what is going on with in employee ownership. So we have three speakers, Anne VandeHei, who is also a SCORE mentor, and she's at Zepnick Solutions, which is in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We have Megan Herbert at HATCO, also Wisconsin business, and RT Krueger at Northern Lake Service, which is actually, well, for living in northeastern Wisconsin, in the same neighborhood that I am, which is about an hour away. But still, I'm really, really excited to welcome all three of these speakers. Northern Lake Service is just starting their journey into employee ownership. HATCO has just celebrated their 15-year anniversary, and Zepnick is about midway between them. So we have a lot of experience represented here on the call. I think some really exciting and fun conversation to come. So with that, I want to turn this over to Anne. Before we do that, I want to just mention there are three basic forms of employee ownership. There's direct ownership of shares by all employees as individuals. There's also indirect ownership and a hybrid model. Today, we're going to be talking primarily about employee stock option plans, also known as ESOPs, which is share ownership, but we're also going to be talking about other kind of how that impacts how the organization is managed, and also other components of what that means. So anyway, I'm going to turn this over to Anne, and over to you.
Well, hello. Like Laurel said, my name is Anne VandeHei, and I am the HR manager of Zepnick Solutions. Our corporate headquarters is in Green Bay, and we are an engineering and equipment solution provider in the food, paper, and consumer goods industries. We were founded in 2000 by Jody Zepnick, and in 2019 became 100% employee owned. So, you know, throughout our growth, we've seen it in all aspects of our business, from sales, project sizes. We went from, you know, just one little piece of a project to now doing entire lines and greenfield projects, different industries. We opened our second location in the midst of COVID in June of 2020. So that was super exciting. And, you know, then as all of these awesome things are happening, Jody is also starting to transition out to retirement, which is what kind of had us looking at ESOPs and different transition pieces. So we made the transition to an ESOP for a handful of reasons. And as I said, just to take a jab at Jody, Jody's in these two pictures. They're kind of flip-flop, but you can see over 22 years, he's a little grayer. He is ready to start spending more time with his grandbabies and up north working on projects. So this was really, you know, his baby, and we want to continue his legacy. So what we did is, when we're looking at an ESOP, first and foremost, it allows him to set the pace of his retirement. It just makes an orderly transition. It is his legacy. We want to make sure that we are, you know, running as he kind of intended, and we continue the culture and what he's built, starting from 1 employee up to 51. One other aspect of moving to an ESOP is he built these great relationships with our core customers, and obviously they've gotten to know him. For an engineer, he talks a lot, so they knew he was kind of on his path to retirement. And with that, they're wondering what that means for Zepnick Solutions. When, you know, as he kind of rides off into the sunset, what does that do? So when they found out that we were becoming an ESOP, that had a very positive kind of response for our customers. It just allows them to know the outlook of the company, the fact that we are trying to retain our employees. We're trying to function in the same way that we have been. And also gives them peace of mind knowing that we have more buy-in and commitment from our current employees. So those were two good reasons. But then in HR, if we go to the next slide, the most important piece, obviously in my line, is the people piece. So all things people, we want to maintain our culture. Jody worked really hard at making sure that when he started Zepnick Solutions, we were a great place to work. And obviously people that say that maybe didn't have such great experiences in the past. So he has kind of built this into a place where he would want to work. And obviously he's got family working here. And, you know, I originally started this slide with our controller. I think she was 7 at a family party. And now she has graduated from college and started working here. And now she's our controller. Her dad is an electrical designer. You know, and that's the kind of feel that we have. Family is important. Humility is important. And we want to continue that culture and to continue to build on that. With that, obviously we have super low turnover and we have really loyal employees, and becoming an ESOP is just a better retirement path for them. We offer it in addition to a standard 401k plan. So, you know, it has just really awesome, like an awesome impact on what our employees' futures look like. And then also it continues to hopefully inspire employee growth, like wanting growth throughout the company. Change is really hard for a lot of people. So, you know, we've been doing kind of big things, opening a second location, but all of these growth opportunities really impact our employees' retirement now, because the better we do, the more they help us profit, the more goes back into their pocket. So not only is it working on profitability now, but also in the future, making sure that we're training our younger engineers and setting the company up for long-term success, because obviously we need the valuations of the profitability to be high when you're in retirement, when you're getting those distributions. So with that, the people really are kind of a huge part of our focus, just because that was the core reason for starting our own business. And then next slide, all things are great and happy, but there's obviously always a learning curve. So specifically in my role, I do the, you know, most of the administration, and personally, you just don't know what you don't know. And sometimes it's hard to even know which questions to ask. So it's learning who your resources are, relying on your third-party administrator, figuring out what those timelines are and how you explain those timelines to other people. Learning about distributions was kind of interesting, because we did have our first distribution and, you know, it's just new. And then as a small business, we did not have reviewed financials. So, you know, that was an added expense that, you know, small businesses maybe aren't as accustomed to. And then following GAAP standards for our accounting team. And then also looking at the different just compliance things with our 401k plan and different, you know, super fun ERISA stuff. Another issue that I thought I would bring up is just the transition for Jody, our founder, and how, you know, kind of letting go of the reins a little bit and maintaining, you know, but still maintaining that structure. And then also communicating that to employees. You know, we talked briefly about this at the last webinar, but, you know, who's making those business decisions and communicating that out to the employees so they understand, you know, just how things operate, because we still have a corporate structure. Jody is still in charge. He just has, a president and vice presidents with him. So yeah, those have been my learning curves, kind of real quick summary, but just things that take a while to get used to, I guess.
So with that, we're going to turn this over to Megan and at HATCO.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Herbert. I'm with the HATCO Corporation. I am our senior HR generalist. We have 2 locations. Our headquarters are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then our manufacturing facility is in Sturgeon Bay. I've been with HATCO about 7.5 years and have learned a lot about employee ownership during that time. So we were founded in 1950, so we've been in business for quite a while. Our main mindset is we want to manufacture innovative products that focus on the efficiency, reliability, and profits of our customers. So making good quality, streamline their processes and help their business. And then kind of our tagline is people who serve and products that solve. So we want to be, helping our customers and then fulfilling those needs within their business, within the food service industry. And then within the food service industry, we're known for our customer service, and we have a program internally known as Knock Your Socks Off customer service. So just kind of going above and beyond for our customers. So we decided to do employee ownership or an ESOP to give back to the employees. We were a family business that kind of got passed down, and then there were no family members to kind of carry on the leadership of HATCO. So the owner felt strongly that the employees are what made HATCO HATCO, and that he wanted to give back to them, and that their hard work and dedication are what made it successful. We looked at the competitive advantage that employees who have a stake in the business are going to probably do a better job and focus on the quality and productivity. We always had a great culture, and that's important to us to maintain that culture. Here in Milwaukee, our office participated in the top workplace engagement survey as part of the Journal Sentinel, and we were awarded that. And then we always encourage collaboration and ownership thinking. So just a little bit about our ESOP journey. In 2004 is when we started our journey, and we started at 49% ESOP or employee ownership. And over the next 3 years, we took gradual ownership. We had to take out a loan. We paid off that loan in those 3 years. And in 2007, we became 100% employee owned. And we're celebrating 15 years this year as 100% employee owned. So from an HR perspective, I obviously want to support our employee ownership culture. We have several different committees within our organization to help maintain that. Specifically, we do have an ESOP communications committee where we get together and we try to educate employees on what employee ownership means, because a lot of times employees coming in, they haven't heard the term before, they don't understand what it means or the impact that it can have on them. So we really try to educate and help them understand what that means, as well as coming up with different activities to help maintain our culture and make work fun and engaging for people. As well as we have a Heating Up Health Committee and a fun squad. So all of those put together, there's always some fun activity going on within the company. Recruitment, always looking for the best employees and people that fit our culture and want to fit in and do the best for HATCO and provide good quality and take pride in the work that they do. We put a lot of emphasis as well on employee recognition and want our employees to feel appreciated for the work and effort that they put in. And then we're always looking for CPIs and innovation of how to cut costs or save time or money and things like that. So just that, you know, when we started our journey, we were, like I said, family owned leading up to that. And then becoming employee owned, our family just got a little bit bigger. And we take a lot of pride in our organization and our employees.
We're going to turn this over to RT to talk about your journey at Northern Lakes and your decision as the owner or family owners to transition to employee owned. So over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to be kind of a broken record and say some of the same things. It's obvious that the three of our companies have a lot of things in common as far as a commitment to employees and a commitment to our customers. I think that's kind of a through line. I'm going to go a little more nuts and bolts because we're really kind of brand new to this. When I was asked to do this, I said a whole bunch of things that I thought were going to get me out of being involved in this just because we were so inexperienced. And I was told that's exactly what we're looking for. So you're going to hear a new person's journey into this realm. Northern Lake Service. I'm RT Krueger. I'm the president of Northern Lake Service. We are an environmental compliance lab located up in Crandon, Wisconsin. We have 35 employees up there, and then we have 3 employees in a small satellite down in Waukesha. We do compliance testing. We do drinking water, wastewater, groundwater testing for municipalities, industries, tribal customers, private residents across Wisconsin. We mostly work for entities that have to comply with state and federal regulations. And most of our work is certified through the state, but we do participate in some specialized projects across the country. Even though we're way up in the sticks and we're a small company, we're the primary laboratory for many of the state's largest municipalities. And there are a number of tests that we perform up there that are not available from any other lab in the state of Wisconsin. So we really kind of take pride in being on the cutting edge and still be able to live up in amongst the lakes and the trees. We're the only private laboratory currently that does PFAS testing, which some of you have probably heard of. It's made a lot of news in the last couple of years. The company was established by my dad back in 1974, and about 20 years ago, my folks started gifting shares of the company to myself and my 2 siblings. And the 3 of us have been the sole owners for about the past 5 years. My brother and sister both serve on our board and assist with things, but they're not active day to day. I'm the only one that's active on a daily basis. We talked about ownership transition for a lot of years, but nothing really kind of took hold. We knew that we could sell to one of the large laboratory networks, national networks, foreign-owned networks, but we just did not want to do that. We have a good reputation. We wanted to continue to serve our customers. And through this process, my dad would rail about the conditions that we'd need to have from a new owner. They'd have to stay where we're located. They'd have to meet this and have to meet that. And my brother finally said, you know, Dad, the only people that are going to meet these conditions are our owners. Those are the only people that we know would be committed to that kind of a process. At that time, we had kind of an old buy-sell agreement that didn't do much other than basically just cover the event of my parents' deaths. And we took a couple of years to find a really good team, to find a really good attorney. We didn't have much legal need prior to that. We found a good attorney. We had some good business consultation. We worked through the process of figuring out what we wanted to do. The first thing we did, we redrafted that buy-sell agreement with employee ownership in mind. We did a big stock split. At that point, the shares were worth about $800, and we did a 10-to-1 split just because it's way easier to manage shares that are worth $100 than shares that are worth $1,000. You don't have to deal in partials and things like that. And we established voting and non-voting shares at that point, again, so that we can have a little bit of control, and so that there's a little bit more of a carrot out there. When people have bought so many non-voting shares, they're entitled to voting shares, and we can work with with some of those kind of conditions. My brother had bought into the company that he worked for, which was a manufacturing company, and they had a couple people who mortgaged themselves to the hilt in order to buy out a brother, and they wanted him out of there ASAP. They knew exactly who they wanted to buy in, and they did that. And our situation was very, very different, where we didn't have obvious targets of an owner management group. And we also don't have, we've got a far more flexible timeline. We wanted something that everybody was comfortable being involved in or choosing to not be involved in. And we decided that any regular employee with over 2 years of employment was eligible for ownership. We recently, this has only been in place for a couple of years, but we recently changed that to 1 year. And I think this is an important thing to remember, that the buy-sell agreement seems like this formidable document, but it is, you can make changes, and it's important to put something in place that makes perfect sense with that understanding that things can change, and make sure the employees know that it's not changed willy-nilly. It's changed through, formalized processes, but letting the employees know that, just having transparency and having their understanding is key. One of the things that we've done real recently is we've started, as we have new ideas in how we're doing this, we have some of the most skeptical employees actually review our concepts. And what that does is it helps us with the rollout, it helps us with the thought process, but it also makes those who might be most skeptical feel empowered, feel like a part of the group, and it really does a lot to help transparency. So we started 2 years ago, we started having the corporation buy shares from my brother and sister and I, in order to take the capital gain ramifications away from that, and create some treasury shares that we could start to make available to our employees. We normally have a small summer bonus every year, and last year we allowed employees to either take that bonus in cash or take it in shares, just to get the ball rolling. You didn't have to put anything in, but they got some value. And we found, as we assumed, we got three kinds of employees: those who are super excited about this and want to aggressively pursue it and are looking at some management opportunities down the road, those who think it's neat to buy in and have a few shares, and those who have zero interest, who want to show up and work. And we've made it, we've created the understanding that being any of those three is really good, is just fine. We also have people that are at totally different stages in their lives, and to try to make these kind of decisions on where they're going to put their dollars. We've been really surprised by some of our younger staff who've made a real commitment to this, who really feel empowered by it, and have done some real financial management to make sure they're doing the right thing. And I honestly think that it's made a lot of our employees look more closely at their long-term financial planning, whether it be putting their dollars into this or doing something different, but it does give them a reason to look into that. So earlier in this year, we opened up our first purchase period, and we only sold about 5% of the shares. And there was some disappointment at the time. I really wasn't, but a couple other people were. But I think people were just, they weren't sure. They needed others to test the waters. And recently we gave people an option at annual review time to take an increase in shares or to take it as a regular increase. And we had significantly more interest in that. We also opened a brief purchase period again, and we had quite a bit of buy-in. It's important to understand, if you do these things in lieu of a raise, that you have to gross that up to cover some of the tax implications. We made an agreement with the employees that next year, when we look at their salary or wage, that we would consider the value of those shares as their new wage. So you got to be looking at things like that, again, to make the employees trust that you're doing something that is in their best interest, that you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes on something like this. Our goal is transition. That's what we want to have happen. I want the people that built our business to be the people that keep the business going. We want to get a fair return for something that my dad grew from absolutely nothing, that we've turned into a really successful business. but we don't feel like we need to squeeze every last dollar out of this. And you know, if that's the goal, then probably this is not going to be the way to pursue that. But if you want that continuity in the business and the culture and all those things that the previous presenters talked about, I think there's some really neat ways to do this to get employee buy-in and again that continuity. I think some of the key things are having a really good team. We've got a really strong business manager internally and a good attorney that we really trust that understands what our goal is. And we are, you know, documenting the heck out of things, trying to keep it as simple as possible, yet document every little step. And again, be as transparent as you possibly can be with your employees moving forward. You got to set some of this stuff up maybe without having a lot of their input, but once things are in place, involve them as much as they're interested in being involved, and let them know their importance to the entire process. So that's our journey.
Then Megan, I'm going to start with you. One of the things you mentioned was 50% to 100% employee ownership. So when you say that, do you mean that 100% of the value of the company is owned by employees, or that 100% of the employees own stock?
It would be 100% of our company is owned by employees or in our trust.
And so to kind of thinking about or reflecting on what RT said, you know, some employees aren't ready or aren't interested. So you still have HATCO. Do you have any HATCO employees that are not part of the ESOP?
Only based on their eligibility date. So we, people are eligible to start participating. I mean, it's kind of, you're automatically enrolled once you meet your eligibility date. So
Okay.
yes, but they will be brought into the plan once they meet their service requirements and waiting period.
Interesting. So you're actually looking at 100% in both senses, 100% of the value of the company and 100% of the employees that are eligible or participating. So I guess to you and Ann, you know, I've heard RT say, look, you started off with the 2-year eligibility. Now it's 1 year to roll in. So what is the eligibility requirement that you guys have had at HATCO, and has that evolved over time?
So currently it's first quarter following 90 days or 3 months of service. I believe it has been that since the beginning. I guess I don't know specifically. So yeah.
Okay. And Ann, what's it at Zepnick?
Ours is based off of the hours that the person worked. So they have to work 1,000 service hours in a calendar year. And then after you do that, you are eligible the following year.
The following year. Okay, cool.
We
And
also have the hour requirement, the 1,000 hours.
got it. RT, are you looking at hours or days, or how do you guys, when you say 1 year, what does that mean?
What does that mean? It means 1 year of regular employment, of regular full-time employment.
So about 1,400 hours, give or take. All right. So the other question that we get asked a lot about employee stock option plans is distribution. And I know you covered this a little bit in the last webinar, but how did distributions work? I know one of the goals in an employee-owned company is to retain employees. So some folks will have a distribution when the person retires or leaves the company, and there's a certain vesting period after that. So how does it work at Zepnick?
So yes, we do have a vesting period that tracks from 0 to 6 years. So you have to be here 6 years to be, you know, fully vested to get your full value. And then the distribution comes basically if it's a small amount under 10,000, you will get paid out, I believe, the next year. If you make it to retirement, you have your distribution occurs within 5 years, over a period of 5 years. And if you leave earlier than that, there's a longer waiting period. So without my cheat sheet, I can't give you exact years because I'm still learning, but but there is kind of, just a very set timeline of based on the circumstances, this is when you get the distribution.
Got it. And Megan, how does it work in HATCO? I mean, it's something similar?
Yeah, so I would say it's probably similar. The specifics might be a little bit different. So we also have a 6-year vesting schedule. So 6 years, you're 100% vested. You have to be here 2 years to be 20%, and then it goes up 20% each year after for the value of your account. Upon retirement, it's paid over the 5 years, so 20% each year. And then if you leave prior to retirement, ours is a 3-year waiting period and then paid out over 5.
Got it. Got it. And then RT, have you gotten to that level of detail at this point in your plan?
Well, ours is, I don't think there's really a vesting period. It's basically, if you leave employment, you're no longer an eligible owner. And so the shares are redeemed back by the Treasury. So if you have a large amount and you're a retiree, there again is that 5-year period on a quarterly basis. But those things, it's also written so that those are negotiable. If somebody has a very small amount, they can take it in a lump sum. And if somebody has a very, very large amount, they can ride that out, that ownership out, understanding, or the payment out, understanding that they are, we can structure that individually. Got
it. All right. So another question, and Anne, you talked a bit about this, has to do with valuation. So RT, I'm wondering, this is one of the things you and I talked about earlier in preparation for this. But one of the things that Northern Lake Service has done is, and I realized that we should stop the share and have all of us on the screen. Sorry about that. Is that you had been doing regular valuations because of the nature of how ownership was working in your company. So that transition to employee ownership and regular valuations was not a difficult one. So I don't know if you want to reflect on that briefly, and then Anne, if you want to dig into the valuation process a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So we started doing evaluation back when my folks began to gift. In order to establish what the share price was for my dad to keep track of estate tax type of thing. And it was, it's kind of an expensive proposition, but once you get used to it and once you see value in it and budget for it, it's kind of to me, it's turned into sort of an enjoyable process of reflecting on a year and having somebody else look over the books and apply those to some, apply some external knowledge to those kind of things. And it turns into a document that a lot of people kind of look forward to taking a look at and see, we stack up.
Anne, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I guess it probably was a little bit bigger of a transition for us just because we hadn't been going through that same process. So for us, it was really, going through the audited financials with CPAs, waiting for them. Then it goes on to a company that does our valuation. Then it goes to our trustee. Then it comes to us. And because of some tax credits, actually, right when we were meeting for this, we finally got our valuation for 21. So it's just kind of a lot of steps that maybe we weren't quite accustomed to. Our books would be closed a lot longer ago if it weren't for having to do that.
And Megan, you guys have been doing this a lot longer. Have you gotten into a rhythm for the valuation? Are there still some things you might want to say to folks considering starting out, like how to prepare for this?
So I don't have a lot of experience with the valuation process, but I do know we work with an outside company that, looks at our financials. They look at past performance, future performance, what is the food service industry doing, what's the economy doing, and kind of, they come up with a number. I know that we have internal trustees, so I know that then goes to our trustee team to review and kind of say, yes, we're in agreement with that, or, push back maybe on a few things. So, but I feel like we're pretty much in a rhythm from what I know.
Okay. And I'm looking at the time, so I want to ask one last question, and all of you, I would like your comment on this. And one of the biggest things I hear from when people are talking about employee ownership is this idea of, and Anne, you talked a little bit about this, and RT, you talked a little about this. It's like, what role do the employees then have in decision-making at the company? And I think there's always these, like, the power balances and the power distribution in companies is really important to people. How does that work? And in employee, I think there's this perception that in employee ownership that, now suddenly everyone's got equal power in the company, and oh my gosh, how are we going to make a decision? And everyone runs away. And so, so RT, I'm wondering, you talked about, this kind of two-tiered method. You can buy in, and then once you get a certain number of shares, you can buy into like something that might provide you a management opportunity, a voting opportunity. So could you just dig into a little bit, what is your feeling as the kind of owner of this company, when you are thinking about management moving forward? And then Anne, I'd like you to reflect a little bit on this as well, because I know you said you still have the corporate structure with decisions, but there's a communication challenge still. And then Megan, from your perspective, also, you and Anne both are coming at this from an HR perspective. How do you look at communications and decision-making? So starting off with RT.
One of the things, so our board of directors was myself and my two siblings and my son. And right away, my son, who wasn't very active, we asked him if he would step down, and we put our laboratory manager on that board. And we actually, we have a formula that we're still trying to tweak out. That's going to basically be, at 15% ownership, you're entitled to a board seat. And so that's going to be, that can be any combination of people, and they can determine who that board member is going to be. And to me, that's, so we'll have a transition of ownership, but also kind of a transition of leadership as well. And I think, again, the people that are very, very active, that want to be managers are the ones that are probably going to be chosen by their peers to have those opportunities. And it's so early that we're really hoping and expecting it doesn't crash and burn, but we don't know. As we go, we're going to have to look at if that was a wise decision, and hopefully I'll be old and have completely lost my mind by that point. It won't matter to me.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne.
So yeah, we still are set up with a corporate structure. We do have a board that has 3 external members plus our external trustee. And then we have an internal executive team that does that, and they're kind of in charge of the big picture. And then we have a leadership team that, is managing the day-to-day. So I guess one thing that I've learned at one of the conferences I went to, and I don't know who gave this example, so I can't even give the proper credit, but I thought it was a really awesome analogy, was, he asked the people, who in this room, has rented a car in the last year? Pretty much everybody there had. And it's like, when you took that rental car back to the rental place, did you take it in for a car wash? Did you vacuum it? Did you, really take care of that car? And of course you didn't. It's not your car. And he's like, who has taken their own vehicle in for a car wash recently? Who has vacuumed that? Like, you take pride in your car. You're going to take care of it. You want to get the most value out of it. And that's kind of how we kind of want to look at this ownership, is you are an owner of this company, and how we take care of it really does impact your future. And so I really kind of like looking at that, because it to me makes sense that you're just part owner, and it's those small things that we can do that add up to a great culture and a great place to work, and just a brighter future for all of us.
Megan, would you like to add anything?
Sure. Just so we also have more of a corporate structure. We have an internal leadership team, and then a board of directors that, make the big decisions regarding our business. But we also put a lot of emphasis on employees for CPIs, continuous process improvements. And when we give our orientation to new hires for the ESOP, one of the examples that we give that stands out to me is we talk about if we could reduce our warranty claims, I think the example is by like $1,000, what is the overall value of that? And to me, that goes back to everyone's decisions or actions affect the quality of our products. So it's that day-to-day, action that can really add up over time and affect the value of our company and our ESOP.
All right, so Archie, I'm going to let you end this one. So I know you're just at the beginning. If you had to do it over again, I mean, I know you're just starting, but if you had to do it over again, are you happy with this direction you guys are going?
Actually, yeah, very. We haven't, boy, I wish I had wood to knock, but we haven't hit any big stumble or surprise at this point.
So I want to thank all three of the speakers. I want to thank our audience. This has been, at least for me, a really enjoyable conversation. I've learned a lot. I hope you have found it enjoyable as well. Today, we did employee ownership. We will be sharing a recording, slides, and some snippets from this in the coming weeks, so please stay tuned. Coming up, we have a webinar on cooperative ownership in September 21. And in October 5th, we have another webinar on DAO hybrid ownership. So I look forward to welcoming all of our participants to those webinars as well. And in the meantime, thank you to Megan Herbert from HATCO. Thank you to Archie Krueger from Northern Lakes. And thank you to VandeHei for both being a SCORE mentor and for representing her company Zepnick Solutions on this call. Have a really wonderful day, everybody.